The arrival that changed everything, the shining halls of knowledge, the Kalari Academy, floated in the void between three stars. Its crystalline structure, reflecting light in ways that made it appear as though the building itself was alive. For 12,000 years, this institution had educated the galaxy's brightest minds. Students from 47 different species walked its corridors, each one selected from billions of applicants. The standards were impossibly high. The curriculum was brutally demanding, and failure meant immediate expulsion. Professor Velther stood at the entrance hall, his four eyes scanning the arrival roster with growing unease. As head of admissions, he had reviewed thousands of applications in his 3-century career. Never had he encountered one quite like this. A human. The council had approved her enrollment, despite his objections. Humans were classified as Category 9 Deathworlders, barely removed from primitive survival instincts. Their planet was a nightmare of extreme weather, dangerous predators, and toxic plant life. How could such a being possibly compete with species that had evolved in controlled, rational environments? An unusual student arrives. Emma Chun stepped off the transport shuttle, her backpack slung over one shoulder. She was small compared to most species present, standing barely 5.5 feet tall. Her dark hair was pulled into a practical ponytail. Her eyes, bright with curiosity, took in everything around her with an intensity that made several nearby students uncomfortable. She wore the standard academy uniform, but somehow it looked different on her. More casual, less formal. Crix, a Zelfari student, watched her approach from a safe distance. His species was known for caution and careful planning. They calculated risk in everything they did. This human walked with confidence that bordered on recklessness. She smiled at strangers. She touched surfaces without scanning them first. She breathed the station air without hesitation, even though it was formulated for multiple species and optimized for none. "You must be Emma Chun," Professor Velther said, his translator converting his clicks and whistles into standard galactic. "I am your faculty advisor. I trust your journey was acceptable." "It was amazing," Emma said, her eyes still wandering. "I've never seen a tri-star system up close before. The gravitational mathematics alone must be incredible." Velther's eyes blinked in sequence, showing surprise. Most new students were nervous, uncertain, overwhelmed. This human seemed excited. "Yes, well, we have much to discuss regarding your schedule and expectations." The weight of different worlds, the first challenge came immediately. The Academy operated at 0.9 standard gravity, comfortable for most species. For Emma, whose home world ran at 1.0, it meant everything felt slightly lighter. She bounded down hallways with steps that carried her farther than intended. She misjudged the weight of objects, lifting equipment that should have required assistance. Other students stared as she adapted within hours to movements that took most species. Weeks to master. The atmospheric composition was another matter. The Academy air contained slightly less oxygen than Earth standard, compensated by other gases that most species preferred. Emma's breathing was heavier during her first classes. By the second day, her body had adjusted. The medical staff monitoring her vital signs were astonished. Human biology adapted to environmental stress at rates they had only seen in emergency survival situations. Physical education was mandatory for all students. Emma arrived at the gymnasium to find species of varying sizes and abilities. The Vorton students, massive beings from a high-gravity world, dominated most physical challenges. The Siren, delicate and graceful, excelled at precision tasks. Emma watched the drills carefully before her turn. Human Emma Chun, the instructor called, his tentacles holding a data pad. "You will complete the standard endurance assessment. 10 circuits around the track. Estimated completion time for your mass and classification is 47 minutes. Emma nodded and took her position. She did not speak. She did not question. She simply began running. Her pace was steady, controlled. She breathed in rhythm with her steps. 20 minutes later, she completed the course. The instructor checked his equipment twice. Certain there was an error. The classroom that revealed everything advanced quantum physics was taught by Professor Xin Ray, a brilliant Quarren whose species had mastered faster-than-light travel 6,000 years before humans discovered fire. The class was designed for third-year students. Emma, as a first year, had tested into it based on her entrance examinations. Most of the class assumed she would fail within weeks. Professor Xin Ray presented a problem on the holographic display. It was an equation that described the collapse of quantum states in multidimensional space. The solution required understanding mathematics that built upon 1,200 years of established theory. Students began working immediately, their various appendages moving across data tablets with practiced precision. Emma stared at the problem for 3 full minutes without moving. Crix, sitting beside her, whispered, "Do you need assistance understanding the notation?" "No," Emma said quietly. "I'm thinking." Thinking. As if complex quantum mathematics could be solved through mere thought rather than rigorous calculation. Crix returned to his own work, expecting Emma to eventually give up and request the answer key that would mark her attempt as incomplete. 15 minutes later, Emma raised her hand. "Professor, I think there's an error in the problem." The classroom fell silent. Challenging a professor, especially one of Xin Ray's standing, was unheard of. Several students made nervous sounds in their native languages. Professor Xin Ray turned, her bioluminescent body pulsing with what might have been amusement or annoyance. "Explain," she said simply. Emma stood and walked to the display. "The equation assumes quantum collapse follows a linear progression through dimensional barriers. But that only works if you ignore the feedback effects from dimensional interference. If you account for recursive collapse patterns, the equation needs an additional variable here." She pointed to a section of the formula. "Without it, the solution is mathematically correct, but physically impossible." Xin Ray studied the equation. Her body's pulsing slowed, then accelerated. "This additional variable," she said carefully, "would require abandoning the Vell-Coring principle, which has been established theory for 3 millennia. "Yes," Emma agreed. "But what if the principle is incomplete? What if it works for most situations, but breaks down under specific conditions?" The professor did something then that shocked every student present. She modified the equation based on Emma's suggestion. She ran the simulation. The results appeared on the screen, showing a collapse pattern that matched observed phenomena that had puzzled researchers for decades. "Extraordinary," Xin Ray whispered. "How did you see this?" Emma shrugged, a gesture that her translator struggled to interpret. "I didn't calculate it. I visualized it. Humans are really good at pattern recognition. We evolved to spot tigers in tall grass and predict where prey would run. I just applied that to quantum states." Asterisk growing concerns and unexpected friendships after class, Professor Valthur waited in the corridor. His expression was difficult for Emma to read, but his body language suggested concern. "Miss Chun, I need to speak with you about your approach to academic work. Did I do something wrong?" Emma asked. "That is precisely the question," Valthur said. "You solved a problem in 15 minutes that should have taken days of careful calculation. You challenged established theory in your first week. You are adapting to our environment at rates that concern our medical staff. You are not following the proper procedures for academic success." Emma was quiet for a moment. "On Earth, we have a saying. There's more than one way to skin a cat. It means there are multiple solutions to most problems." "That is a disturbing saying," Valthur noted. "Yeah, we probably should update it," Emma admitted. "But the point stands. Just because I solve problems differently doesn't mean I'm doing it wrong." "It means you are unpredictable," Valthur said. and unpredictability is dangerous in an academic setting. Later that evening, Crix found Emma in the observation lounge, staring out at the 3 stars. "You caused quite a disturbance today," he said, settling into a seat designed for his body structure. "I didn't mean to," Emma said. "I was just trying to help." "That is what concerns people," Crix replied. "You do not calculate consequences. You act on instinct and intuition. For species like mine, such behavior is associated with children or the mentally unstable. And for humans, it's called innovation," Emma said with a slight smile. "Look, I get that I'm different. But different doesn't have to be bad. The headmaster has scheduled a meeting with you," Crix said quietly. "Tomorrow morning. There are discussions about whether humans are suited for higher education." Emma turned from the window, her expression serious for the first time since arriving. "Then I guess I need to prove them wrong." The summons the next morning, Emma walked through corridors that seemed less welcoming than they had a week ago. Students moved aside as she passed. Whispers followed her in languages she could not understand. The human who challenged Professor Zinray. The Deathworlder who broke physical records without trying. The unpredictable element that threatened the Academy's perfect order. Headmaster. Curvin S. office occupied the highest point of the Academy structure. The walls were transparent, offering views of space in all directions. The headmaster himself was a Keltran, a species known for logical thinking and careful deliberation. His body was composed of interlocking crystalline plates that shifted colors based on his thoughts. "Miss Chun," he said as she entered. "Please sit." Emma sat in the human-adapted chair they had provided. She waited, knowing that patience was valued among most galactic species. "I will be direct," Curvin said. "Your presence here has created significant discussion among our faculty. Your methods are unconventional. Your results are impressive, but achieved through means we cannot fully understand or predict. Some believe you represent a dangerous precedent. Others believe you represent an opportunity. And what do you believe?" Emma asked. The headmaster's plates shifted through several color patterns. "I believe the answer to that question will be determined by what you do next. Asterisk breaking boundaries and reshaping perspectives." The challenge presented Headmaster Curvin gestured, and a holographic display appeared between them. It showed a complex engineering schematic, layers upon layers of intricate designs that seemed to fold into dimensions Emma could barely perceive. "This is the annual collaborative project," he explained. "Students are grouped into teams of 6, each from different species. They are given an impossible problem and 1 standard month to solve it." "Impossible?" Emma asked. "Designed to have no complete solution," Curvin confirmed. "The goal is not to succeed, but to demonstrate proper academic methodology, collaborative protocols, and acceptance of limitations. Teams are judged on their process, not their results." Emma studied the schematic. It was an energy distribution system for a theoretical space station that needed to support 20 different atmospheric requirements, gravity zones, and temperature ranges simultaneously. The power requirements alone would drain a small star. "So students are supposed to try and fail properly? They are supposed to learn that some problems cannot be solved," Corvin said. "And that accepting this is a mark of wisdom. On Earth," Emma said slowly, "we tell our children that the word impossible is just a challenge in disguise." The headmaster's colors shifted to a pattern Emma was learning meant concern. "That attitude is precisely what worries us. Your team assignment has been prepared. You will work with 5 other first-year students. Your performance on this project will determine whether the Academy continues to accept human applicants. Meeting the team, the collaborative workspace, was designed for comfort across multiple species." Emma arrived first, setting down her personal data tablet and studying the problem specifications. The challenge was even more complex than the brief overview had suggested. Every potential solution created cascade failures in other systems. It was truly designed to be unsolvable. Crix arrived next, his cautious nature making him early for everything. "So we are on the same team," he said, settling into his workspace. "I hope you plan to approach this project with more conventional methods." "I plan to approach it by actually trying to solve it," Emma replied. "That is not the point of the exercise," Crix said patiently. "We are meant to demonstrate we can work together while acknowledging our limitations." Before Emma could respond, 3 more teammates arrived. Thren was a Vorten, massive and physically powerful, whose species excelled at structural engineering. Lisa's was Siren, delicate and precise, a master of microcalculations. Pex was a floating Drath, existing partially in another dimension, capable of perceiving mathematical relationships in ways other species could not. The 6th member arrived last. Zara was Keltrin, like the headmaster, her crystalline body showing patterns of extreme confidence. "I am team leader," she announced immediately. "My academic scores are highest. We will proceed using standard collaborative protocols. Or we could just work together as equals," Emma suggested. Zara's colors flashed in a pattern that needed no translation. "Displeasure. Humans do not understand proper hierarchy. This is documented." The human approach for 3 days, the team followed Zara's leadership. They analyzed the problem methodically. They broke it into subcomponents. They calculated theoretical approaches and documented why each one failed. They produced beautiful reports explaining the impossibility of the task. Emma participated but remained quiet, watching how the others worked. On the 4th day, she brought a physical model to the workspace. It was made from random materials she had found in the fabrication lab. Wires, crystals, metal plates, and what appeared to be food packaging, all connected in ways that made no structural sense. "What is that?" Thren asked, his massive head tilting with confusion. "A prototype," Emma said. "I was thinking about the power distribution problem last night and had an idea." "You cannot solve this with random garbage," Zara said, her colors showing irritation. "This is a theoretical exercise requiring advanced mathematics." "Just let me show you," Emma said. She activated the model. It immediately began sparking, smoking, and making alarming sounds. Thren moved to deactivate it, but Emma waved him off. Wait. I know what's wrong." She adjusted several connections. The smoking stopped. The energy flow stabilized. The model began distributing power through multiple pathways simultaneously, adapting in real time to changing demands. It was crude, inefficient, and nowhere near a complete solution. But it was something none of them had seen before, an actual working prototype of an impossible system. "How?" Lisa's whispered, her delicate features showing wonder. "I stopped trying to calculate the perfect solution," Emma explained. "Instead, I built something that could adapt. See, humans learned a long time ago that perfect systems are fragile. Better to have something flexible that can respond to changes." "But the mathematics," Pex's voice echoed from his partially dimensional state. "They do not support this approach." "Then maybe we need different mathematics," Emma said. "Or maybe we need to stop thinking about this as a math problem and start thinking about it as a living system." Breaking the rules of tradition, Zara wanted to discard Emma's approach immediately. It violated every principle of proper academic work. But Crix surprised everyone by supporting further investigation. What if the human is correct? What if we have been approaching this wrong for centuries? "That is impossible," Zara said. "You mean improbable," Emma corrected gently. "And improbable just means we need to try harder." The team split their efforts. Zara, Pex, and Lisa's continued with the traditional approach, producing detailed documentation of failure modes. Emma, Crix, and Thren worked on physical prototypes, testing, failing, adjusting, and testing again. The workspace became chaotic. Emma's section was covered with failed experiments and scattered notes that seemed to follow no organizational system. Professor Velther visited their workspace during week 2. He observed Emma's section with growing concern. "Miss Chun, this appears completely disorganized." "It's organized," Emma said, not looking up from her current prototype. "Just not in a way that's immediately obvious. I know where everything is." "That is not sufficient for collaborative work," Velther said. "Then it's good that Crix has been documenting everything properly," Emma replied. Crix held up his meticulously organized notes, showing every experiment Emma had run, every failure, every small success. He had learned to translate human chaos into academic order. The breakthrough moment week 3 brought disaster. Emma's largest prototype, the one she had been building toward after dozens of smaller failures, exploded during testing. Not violently, but completely. 3 weeks of work reduced to melted components and scattered data. Zara's colors showed satisfaction. This is what happens when you ignore proper protocols. Emma sat among the wreckage, not speaking. Thren approached carefully. "Are you injured?" "Just my pride," Emma said with a weak smile. "And my project. I was so sure this version would work." "Then you were wrong," Zara said. "As predicted. We will continue with proper methodology." But Emma was already studying the remains. "Wait, look at this." She held up a partially melted crystal matrix. "It didn't fail everywhere. This section actually worked better than I designed it to. The explosion happened because I made the rest of the system too rigid. It couldn't handle the success." "You are claiming success in complete failure?" Zara asked. "I'm claiming I learned something crucial," Emma said, her energy returning. "Failure is just information. Every mistake teaches you something new." For the next week, Emma barely slept. She rebuilt, incorporating the lessons from every failure. Crix worked beside her, finally understanding the human method. Test, fail, learn, adjust. Test again. Each iteration was better than the last. Not because Emma calculated perfection, but because she allowed the system to show her what it needed. The competition day arrives. The Academy-wide presentation took place in the Grand Auditorium. 43 teams displayed their work. Beautiful reports. Elegant mathematics. Detailed explanations of why the problem was impossible. The judges, senior faculty from across the galaxy, nodded approvingly at each presentation. Emma's team went last. Zara presented first, showing their traditional analysis. It was flawless. Perfect documentation of systematic failure. The judges began entering their scores. Then Emma stepped forward with Thren, wheeling in their final prototype. "With respect," Emma said, "we'd like to demonstrate an alternative approach." "This is irregular," one judge said. "The project is not designed for working solutions." "Then maybe it's time to redesign the project," Emma said. She activated the prototype. It hummed to life, energy flowing through pathways that adapted in real time. Temperature zones separated. Atmospheric controls adjusted. Gravity fields stabilized. It was not perfect. It was not elegant. But it worked. The auditorium fell silent. Emma continued. "We solved this by stopping our search for the perfect answer. Instead, we created a system that learns and adapts, just like life does." Professor Zinray stood from the judges' panel. "The mathematics supporting this should not function." "They don't, not in traditional terms," Crix said, stepping forward. "But Emma showed us that mathematics is just a tool for describing reality. Sometimes reality doesn't fit our equations. So we need new equations. Or no equations at all," Pex added, his voice wondering. "I have been calculating in 12 dimensions for my entire life. This human thinks in directions I cannot perceive. It is humbling and fascinating." The decision that changed everything Headmaster Curvin stood, his crystalline plates cycling through colors no one had seen before. The Academy has operated on established principles for 12,000 years. We have taught students that wisdom lies in knowing limitations, that proper methodology is more important than results, that some problems are meant to remain unsolved. He gestured to Emma's prototype. This human has been here 1 month. She has challenged our professors, broken our records, violated our protocols, and in doing so, she has revealed something we had forgotten. Intelligence is not just about calculation. It is about adaptation, innovation, the willingness to fail repeatedly in pursuit of impossible goals. The headmaster moved closer to Emma. You asked what I believe. I believe you have taught us more in 1 month than we have learned in centuries. I believe the Academy must change or become obsolete. And I believe humanity's greatest strength is not that you are intelligent. It is that you refuse to accept that anything is truly impossible. 6 months later, the Human Innovation Wing opened in the eastern section of the Academy. Emma stood at the entrance, watching new students arrive. 3 more humans had been accepted. 12 alien species had requested to study human teaching methods. Professor Velther, now co-director of the new wing, stood beside her. I was wrong about you, he said simply. You were cautious, Emma corrected. That's not wrong. It's just a different approach. The Council is still debating the wisdom of this change, Velther admitted. Many believe we have compromised our standards. Or maybe you've expanded them, Emma suggested. She watched Zara working with a human student, the Keltron's colors showing fascination as she learned to think in nonlinear patterns. Crix was teaching a class on adaptive problem-solving, incorporating both traditional methodology and human innovation in the observation lounge. Emma found her favorite spot, looking out at the 3 stars. Thren joined her, his massive form settling carefully into reinforced furniture. I heard the Council is creating an exchange program with Earth universities, he said. Yeah, Emma smiled. My little brother replied. He wants to teach aliens how to play basketball. What is basketball? Thren asked. It's a game where you try to throw a ball through a hoop while other people try to stop you. Thren considered this. That sounds pointless. Exactly, Emma laughed. That's what makes it fun. Humans don't do everything because it's logical or necessary. Sometimes we do things just to see if we can. Sometimes the impossible is worth attempting just for the attempt itself. She turned from the window, looking back at the Academy she had changed simply by being herself. You know what the best part is? I didn't try to prove anything. I just showed up and did my best. Turns out that was enough. As Emma walked back to her quarters, she passed dozens of students from countless species, each one now questioning assumptions that had seemed absolute. Some changes happen through grand declarations and careful planning. Others happen when a single person refuses to accept that different means wrong. The galaxy would never quite be the same. And somewhere, in the archives of human achievement, a new entry was being written. The day humanity taught the universe that impossible was just another word for not yet. The end asterisk.